presents $848.9 million 2020 budget in the National Assembly. And first of two DVRD days is tomorrow, Friday, December 13th. Regionally, regional governments reach consensus on LIAT deal. Internationally, U.S. House Judiciary panel expected to approve impeachment charges against President Donald Trump. And in sports, FIFA to take legal action to recover 2 million Swiss francs from ex-vice president. We'll have details on other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, Vaughan.
Welcome back. Now the national news in detail. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris, laid before the National Assembly the Appropriation 2020 Bill 2019 today, December 12th, which is to the tune of about $848.9 million for the fiscal year 2020. The Appropriation 2020 Bill 2019 is a bill to provide for the services of St. Christopher and Nevis for the financial year commencing January 1st, 2020 and ending on December 31st, 2020. The Ministry of Finance will receive the largest amount of the budget, EC $272.5 million. The Ministry of National Security will receive EC $99.2 million. The second largest amount and the largest amount to date to ever given to the National Security Ministry. This is also the fifth consecutive year that the Team Unity Administration has introduced a tax-free budget. The budget debate commences tomorrow, December 13th. The first of two discounted VAT rate days, DVRDs, here in St. Kitts and Nevis is tomorrow, December 13th. Initially, the dates for the annual DVRD days were December 14th and Saturday, December 21st. However, according to a release from the government, upon further consideration, the Cabinet agreed, after taking into account the beliefs and traditions of the devout and diverse religious community in St. Kitts and Nevis, that the first of two announced DVR days be changed to Friday, December 13th. The second date, Saturday, December 21st, remains the same. The annual DVRDs allow all VAT-registered businesses to charge VAT at the rate of 5% on the sale of goods only. All tangible items that are presently subject to 17% VAT will qualify for the discount VAT rate. For vehicle purchases, VAT will be exempt on the first EC $50,000, with VAT at the standard 17% charge thereafter. Salaries and other remunerations will also be paid by the government on Friday, December 13th. The Bank of Nevis Limited is among a consortium of Eastern Caribbean indigenous banks which has entered into a definitive agreement to purchase all banking operations in the Eastern Caribbean from Royal Bank of Canada, RBC. According to a press release from the Bank of Nevis, the transaction is subject to regulatory approval and other customary closing conditions and is expected to be finalized in the coming months. The consortium was led by Managing Director of First National Bank of St. Lucia Limited, Jonathan Johannes. The other four financial entities participating in the sale are namely the First National Bank, St. Lucia Limited, Antigua Commercial Bank Limited, National Bank of Dominica Limited, and the Bank of Montserrat Limited. The sale of the following branches of Royal Bank of Canada, namely Antigua Dominica, Montserrat, St. Lucian, 2 locations, and St. Kitts and Nevis, 2 locations, as well as the regional businesses operating under RBC Financial Caribbean Limited, specifically RBTT Bank, SKN Limited, RBTD Bank, Grenada Limited, 2 locations, RBC Royal Bank Holdings, EC Limited, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Royal Bank Teaching Bank Caribbean Limited, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In more national news.
We have introduced the Poverty Alleviation Program with over 4,000 beneficiaries and a total payout of $22 million for the first 11 months of 2019.
That's Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris. PM Harris was at the time presenting the 2020 budget in the National Assembly today, December 12th. The Poverty Alleviation Program, PAP, alias the Household Assistance Program, seeks to assist households earning less than EC $3,000 a month by providing an extra EC $500 per month and improve the socio-economic status of citizens and residents in the Federation. Meantime, in expounding upon what his Team Unity-led administration has done for 2019, PM Harris said this.
Implementation of the Hurricane Relief Program has supported over 2,000 households with repairs and renovations to their homes. We have reinstated the honorarium to over 1,000 government auxiliary employees. That honorarium had been denied them by the former administration. 4 consecutive years of payment of an extra month's salary to civil servants and employees at public entities on the island of Nevis and the island of St. Kitts.
Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris. Following the announcement by Nevis's Premier and Minister of Finance, Honorable Mark Brantley, that the financial services sector has seen a decline in 2019, he has also announced what has been done by the department to help the situation. Financial services are the economic services provided by the finance industry, which surrounds a broad range of businesses that manage money. Here is Premier Brantley.
The department has solicited the assistance of the Caribbean Regional Technical Center, CARTAC, to conduct a high-level review of the regulatory and supervisory frameworks for international banks in Nevis, including a review of our present legislation and regulations. That review is now completed, and it is our intention early in the new year to amend the existing legislation to incorporate the recommendations made by CARTAC. These proposed amendments will enhance our legislation to make it more robust in our quest to satisfy the international regulatory community and ensure that we remain best in class. It is also our intention to establish an international banking unit within the Financial Services Regulation and Supervision Department, comprising of at least 3 regulators, to ensure that the activities of these entities are carefully monitored.
Nevis's Premier and Minister of Finance, Honorable Mark Brantley. And finally, St. Kitts and Nevis's Prime Minister, Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris, has extended his congratulations to Dominica's Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, following his Dominica Labour Party's DLP victory at the general elections last Friday. He was quoted as saying, "On behalf of the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis, my cabinet colleagues and I extend best wishes to Prime Minister Skerrit and his government, and I convey our strong desire to continue working together in advancing both our nation's efforts and commitments to our people, as well as those of the OECS and CARICOM." The DLP won 18 of the 21 seats in the island's parliament. The Dominica Labour Party DLP, led by Prime Minister Skerrit, won an unprecedented 5th term in the general elections. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
with your brand new vehicle. Compliments the Bank of Nevis Limited. We are offering 100% financing on all brand new vehicles with a very competitive interest rate. But that's not all. We are giving you up to 7 years to repay. That's right, 7 years. Contact us by phone or come into our branch today. All right. The Bank of Nevis Limited. My bank, your bank, our bank. The Bank of Nevis Limited. Improving the quality of life. Like us on Facebook.
Who got the keys to my bimmer?
Welcome back, and now the regional news in detail. A new agreement has apparently been struck as the government of Barbados has apparently come off its initial stance of requesting US $40 million from the government of Antigua and Barbuda, GOAB, to acquire most of its 49% shareholding in regional air carrier LEAT. According to the Antigua Observer, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown said, "We have a general consensus on the way forward." This announcement came following a LEAT shareholder government's meeting that included Barbados's Prime Minister Mia Mottley and St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, which was held over a week ago. That consensus, continued Brown, will result in the recapitalization of LEAT as well as the restructuring of LEAT to place it on a path of sustainability. Talks broke down between the GOAB and Barbados back in June when the two sides could not come to an agreement on the purchase price for most of Barbados's 49% shares in regional air carrier. The Barbados government then was seeking approximately US $21 million more than the GOAB was willing to offer. Concerning the new deal, however, Prime Minister Brown said, "I'm not in a position to give the details at this point, but to say that the issues that we've had, there has been some convergence and there's now a consensus and a way forward." The Antigua and Barbuda shareholding currently sits at 34%. At least 3 teams observing the general elections in Dominica, in which the ruling Dominica Labour Party, DLP, was returned to power with a greater majority, said the results reflected the will of voters who cast ballots in the election. The observer teams from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OAS, the Commonwealth and the Caribbean Community CARICOM, in separate news conferences, said that while there had been some concerns about pre-election violence, it did not prevent people from peacefully casting their ballots on Friday in support of either DLP or the main opposition United Workers' Party, UWP. The results released gave the DLP victory in 18 of the 21 constituencies, while the remainder went to the UWP. Belizean Josephine Tamming, who headed the 11-member CARICOM mission, said the initial assessment of election day activities by the CEOM, CARICOM Election Observation Mission, is that the voters were able to cast their ballots without intimidation or fear. According to nationnews.com, the Commonwealth Observer Team, led by the former Sierra Leone Foreign Minister Zanab Hawa Bangura, said the results reflected the collective will of the people who voted. Former Barbados Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham, who held the 20-member observer team from the OAS, said that while they were concerned by the strong rhetoric and the deterioration in the tone of the campaign in the weeks prior to the elections, the mission noted the results reflected the will of the people. Out of the Turks and Caicos Islands. A legal notice banning styrofoam and plastic straws has been presented in the House of Assembly for passage. It is named the Plastic and Other Single-Use Products Use and Waste Management Expanded Polystyrene Foam Regulations 2019. According to tcweeklynews.com, the regulations are intended to further guide the enactment of the principal ordinance, and as such, it sets out penalties for failure to comply, among other things. The document follows the passage of the Plastic and Other Single-Use Products Use and Waste Management Ordinance passed earlier in 2019. With this new regulation, the government is seeking the prohibition of other similar single-use products. The new document states that a person shall not stock, distribute, or sell the following other similar single-use products in the islands: expanded polystyrene foam, single-use food service containers, and plastic straws. Anyone who contravenes the above proposed law commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of $5,000 or to imprisonment for 6 months or to both. The regulation further places certain restrictions on vendors. Vendors who contravene the proposed law and provide food or beverages in other similar single-use product for consumption on or off his premises commits an offense and is liable on conviction to a fine of $20,000 or to imprisonment for 1 year or both. Out of St. Lucia. 6 persons are now homeless as a result of a fire in Castries, emergency officials say. Assistant Divisional Officer David Antoine told St. Lucia Times that about 7:32 a.m. on Wednesday, firefighters from the Castries Fire Station responded to the fire in a 2-story concrete and wooden dwelling. On arrival on the scene, fire officers were able to control and extinguish the fire in the upper floor where it originated, he explained, but the fire service official revealed that the upper floor was destroyed. Mr. Resident Brian Louison said he and others had to get his mother out of a room when the fire broke out. However, he said that the important thing was that everyone who lived in the house are safe. Louison commended the St. Lucia Fire Service, asserting that firefighters did a great job with the assistance of residents of the community. And finally, out of Curacao. The installation of traffic cameras will start at different locations in the beginning of 2020. Minister of Justice Quincy Gigi Goring announced. The cameras will be placed at 17 locations, including Hellman, Wheel Ells Boulevard, and the Wegner West Point Road to the western side of the island. The License Plate Liability Act must be introduced, which is currently in its final office phase, said Gigi Goring. If everything goes according to plan, the penalties for violations recorded through the cameras must also start in the coming year. That's it for Regional Stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. A House of Representatives panel is expected to approve impeachment charges against President Donald Trump later in a marathon session of rancorous debate. The Judiciary Committee is debating 2 articles of impeachment alleging abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. A full vote by the Democratic-run House next week will likely make him the 3rd U.S. president ever impeached. However, the Senate, controlled by Mr. Trump's fellow Republicans, is not expected to remove him from office. No crime, the U.S. president said on Twitter early on Thursday. Mr. Trump is accused of trying to force Ukraine to launch a corruption investigation into his political rival Joe Biden, a leading Democratic contender for the White House next year, and obstruction of Congress for stonewalling the House investigation. The Democrats who run the committee have agreed the language of the 9 pages detailing the charges, saying that Mr. Trump betrayed the nation by acting corruptly. Republicans are trying to introduce amendments, but unified Democrats on the panel are rebuffing such proposed changes. The UK is going into the polls for the country's 3rd general election in less than 5 years. Polling stations in 650 constituencies across England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland opened at 7 a.m. GMT. After the polls close at 10 p.m. GMT, counting will begin straight away. Most results are due to be announced in the early hours of Friday morning. A total of 650 MPs will be chosen under the first-past-the-post system used for general elections, in which the candidate who secures the most votes in each individual constituency is elected. The BBC says it is the first winter election since 1974 and the first to take place in December since 1923. The army has been called into northeastern India after thousands of people defied curfews to protest against a new citizenship bill. The Citizenship Amendment Bill, CAB, offers amnesty to non-Muslim illegal immigrants from 3 countries. The BBC's June McGivern gives us more.
Protesters burned tyres and logs, set fire to vehicles and battled with the security forces in the Assamese city of Guwahati. Trains and flights were cancelled. A ban on internet services has been extended. The Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, posted on Twitter that he and his government were totally committed to safeguarding the rights of the Assamese people. But many of those protesting say Assam's identity is under threat. They're angry that under the new legislation, Hindu immigrants claiming religious persecution in neighbouring countries will be eligible to become citizens.
A political activist, Yogendra Yadav, says the new bill is at odds with the spirit of the Indian constitution by discriminating against Muslims.
If India said that we are open to any persecuted person from anywhere in the world, would I not only be happy, I would be proud of it. That is my civilizational value. But the message that this particular amendment gives is no Muslims, please. Thank you, we are in India.
Climate activist Greta Thunberg has changed her Twitter bio to mock U.S. President Donald Trump's outrage at her winning Time Person of the Year 2019. He said she had an anger management problem and you should go to a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. Chill, Greta, chill, he added. She then adapted her Twitter bio to say she was a teenager working on her anger management problem, currently chilling and watching a good old-fashioned movie with a friend. The Swedish 16-year-old was named as Time magazine's Person of the Year on Wednesday after leading a global movement against climate change. And finally, Democratic presidential front-runner Joe Biden has denied ever discussing with his campaign whether he would only serve one term if elected in 2020. I don't have plans on one term. I'm not even there yet, Mr. Biden said. Politico earlier quoted 4 people who regularly talked to Biden, saying it was virtually inconceivable that he will run for re-election in 2024. In 2024, Mr. Biden, now 77, will be 82. America has never had a sitting octogenarian president. Kate Bedingfield, Mr. Biden's deputy campaign manager, denied the claims in the Politico story. Polls suggest Mr. Biden is still the frontrunner in a turbulent and crowded field of Democratic presidential hopefuls. That brings us to the end of our news segments. The latest in sports is next.
Are your living spaces ready to host friends and family for the holidays? Not quite. Spin and win big this Christmas with TDC Hire Purchase. Win up to 35% off furniture, appliances, and electronics when you shop at the TDC Home and Building Depots on Hire Purchase.
We're here.
Wow, honey, your home looks amazing. Thanks, Mom. TDC is Christmas. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, and now the sports in detail. FIFA is to take legal action by the end of the year to force Michel Platini to return 2 million Swiss francs he received during Sepp Blatter's reign at World Football's governing body. FIFA banned Platini, its then vice president, in 2015 over the payment he received, sparking years of bitter recriminations from the Frenchman and a falling out with his former ally, Blatter. According to the Jamaican Observer, in a document seen by AFP yesterday, FIFA said it would take action to recover the money illegally paid by the former president of FIFA to the former vice president of FIFA. Platini declined to comment, but his lawyer, Vincent Salary, called the development harassment of his client. FIFA said it planned to sue Blatter at the same time and would be seeking interest at the appropriate rate and disciplinary fines and costs, both ordered but not paid. Blatter, who authorized the payment in 2011, dismissed FIFA's new claim. Still in football. Napoli has appointed Gennaro Gattuso as the Italian club's new head coach following the dismissal of Carlo Ancelotti on Tuesday. Ancelotti was sacked just hours after taking Napoli into the Champions League last 16 with a 4-0 win over Genk. Gattuso, 41, previously managed AC Milan, but left the Serie A club at the end of last season. We need to work hard, win back points, and come through this tricky period, said Gattuso. Napoli are 7th in Serie A, 8 points off the top 4. Gattuso, who played under Ancelotti at AC Milan, said he is like a father to me. And finally, in cricket, Natalie Siva hit an unbeaten century as England beat Pakistan by 127 runs in the second one-day international in Kuala Lumpur. Shiva put on 146 with Fran Wilson as England made 327 for 4 in their 50 overs. Pakistan was all out for 200 with Anya Shabsole, Sarah Glenn, Sophie Ecclestone and captain Heather Knight taking 2 wickets apiece. The win put England 2-0 up in the 3-match series. The third match takes place on Saturday. The scores were England 327 for 4 in 50 overs, Pakistan 200 all out in 44.5 overs. England won by 127 runs. And that's it for sports. The general weather report is next. Welcome back, and now the local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. There will be partly cloudy skies tonight with a 40% or moderate chance of showers. Winds are east to northeast at 22 to 33 kilometers per hour, or 12 to 18 knots with higher gusts during showers, as well as over open waters. Seas are 1.8 to 2.8 meters or 6 to 9 feet, with northeast swells averaging 1.5 meters or 5 feet. An advisory is in place for small craft operators and a high surf advisory for beachgoers against hazardous sea conditions. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:31 a.m. And that's a wrap up the major news package for today, Thursday, 12 December 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, PM Harris presents $848.9 million 2020 budget in the National Assembly. And first of 2 DVRD days is tomorrow, Friday, December 13th. Regionally, regional governments reach consensus on a LIAT deal. Internationally, U.S. House Judiciary panel expected to approve impeachment charges against President Donald Trump. And in sports, FIFA to take legal action to recover 2 million Swiss francs from ex-vice president. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashran Tyson, wishing you a pleasant evening.